Hey guys, just checking something, making sure, okay. Just thought I'd come out here and I wanted to talk about something real quickly. And honestly, I have to, what's the word? What's the name I'm looking for? I'm trying to think who did this. Oh yeah, SaberSpark. SaberSpark did a video where he talked about what's ruining illumination. And even though technically, in a sense, he has it in his own way in the video, kind of admitted that, illumination isn't ruined financially, but it's kind of like, in his opinion, he feels they're kind of ruining themselves by playing it safe and not taking a chance. But you see, there was one thing he talked about in there, one of the movies that they did, and that was Dr. Seuss's The Loax, their adaptation, their take on it. And there was a scene in there that, really would make you question why. You see, in this adaptation of The Loax, I can't think of his name right now, but the main young character in the story, played by Zac Efron, is head over heels for this girl next door. This literally this girl next door. I think her name is Bonnie or something like that, voiced by Taylor Swift. And by being head over heels for her, he's willing to do whatever it takes to kind of win her affections. But what's funny is the way the movie plays it out for a bit is they kind of enjoy each other's company, like they understand each other. Like he's willing to understand her, and she, in a sense, is willing to understand him. In other words, they accept each other for who they are. Then, the fact that she compliments of how cool his grandma is, it's got to be saying something, right? But on top of that, there's a scene towards the end of the movie where basically they're planting a seed that they got, that Zac Efron's character got, from the character that chopped down the forest and all that the Loax was protecting, in the story, in the flashback story, as well as in the original story. So he's given this seed. And as he and this girl are planting it, or at least planting one of the seeds that they got, at the end, what does Bonnie, Taylor Swift's character, do? She kind of looks over at Zac Efron's character that he's voicing, kind of has this like little sly look on her face, and without him even knowing it until it happens, she gives him a kiss on the cheek. Now you might say, okay, where did that come from? And then she has this kind of look as soon as like the grandma approaches, like she's starting to, like she's kind of now falling herself for Zac Efron's character, even though Zac Efron's character is supposed to be 12-something years old in the movie. Nostalgia Critic said it best. Here you have a 26-year-old Zac Efron voicing a 12-year-old or 13-year-old character who's smitten heads over heels for a girl that's several years older than him, voiced by Taylor Swift. Point I'm getting at when it comes to Spike and Rarity is, if Illumination, which was, I think, a couple years old at that time, sorry about that, but Illumination, who was like, a couple years old at that time, and this was like one of the first movies, if they're willing to do that, then what's so wrong with, let's say, Spike and Rarity probably in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, by next season, probably semi, if not fully, being an item? What's so wrong with that? I mean, somebody even pointed out to me the whole Anakin situation in the Star Wars prequel. I mean, when we first meet Anakin in the first Star Wars prequel, The Phantom Menace, he's just a young kid. He's about maybe 11, 12, whatever. And he befriends, I think her name is Padaway. I can't think of the name right now of the royal princess or whatever she is, Queen Padaway or whatever. But he befriends her and they become very close. But what happens? Come Attack of the Clones, Anakin has aged up. Now he's played by Hayden Christensen, I think. And what do they do in Attack of the Clones? When Padaway sees him for the first time in a long while, she's still somewhat the same age, which means she's kind of maybe immortal or ageless or something. I don't really know. And they proceed to basically take the steps in Attack of the Clones to make Anakin and her fall in love. Now some might say, well, what they did there with Attack of the Clones is they jumped the shark. Because, there's no way Padaway could stay that young while this young Anakin that she met in Phantom Menace suddenly becomes this, good-looking guy in front of her. But yeah, basically, Anakin grows up. She notices it. She falls in love with him. He falls in love with her, and they get married, and they have kids, which were Luke and Leia. Point I'm getting at, folks. Point I'm getting at is, even though you may not like the Star Wars trilogy, even though you may not like the Star Wars trilogy, here's the thing. Disney owns Lucasfilms, right? They own the Star Wars franchise. So they still, in a sense, unless they come out and basically they themselves consider the prequels not canon, they themselves are pretty much saying that what happened between Anakin and Padaway, or Padaway, is, again, I can't really pronounce her name correctly, is canon. They're pretty much saying that what happened between those two is canon. Now, like I said, some could say that they kind of jumped the shark, and that might be true, but basically what you have here is Phantom Menace starting the first step towards basically a love and romance between Anakin and this queen, or this princess as she's called. So again, despite how you feel about it, this is nothing new. Even Disney, if you will, has done this with several of those shows, if not the movies. I mean, heck, take a look at The Princess and the Frog. What does Tanyana's friend say to the young prince's brother when she's dancing with him? And, what does she ask? How old is he? And he says how old he is, and then Tanyana's friend is like, well, I waited this long, So you're telling me they're teasing something between Tanyana's best friend and the prince's younger brother? So, here's the thing. I think what it is, here's the thing. There are a ton of examples of something that many feel is not right or appropriate, but yet studios still go through it, whether through animation or live action. Again, going back to Disney even did this a little bit with one of the movies that gets overlooked, Blank Check. Yeah, Blank Check did it, which was kind of weird. Heck, even Tom Hanks starred in the classic 80s movie Big, where basically he was, a 12, 13-year-old trapped in a man's body, wished to be older, and all of a sudden he was, and he's falling in love with this woman, and this woman falls in love with him, and then she finds out the truth. You get the idea, right? This has been going on for years and decades. So what's the big deal here? What's the big deal here? I'll tell you what it is. What's making people not really get behind Spike and Rarity, Sparity, like a majority of the fan base is, and I guarantee you, when people saw this special, Best Gift Ever, I think at Cider Fest, I'm pretty sure a lot of people applauded and cheered when Spike did that scene with Rarity, he did that song for Rarity and she gave him a kiss, because they're like, holy smokes, this is actually happening. And then when you take a look at how the camera, as I've mentioned before, kind of zooms in a little bit or focuses on Rarity when Spike's singing the lyrics of, saying things like nothing can compare to you, you see the reaction on her face. And that's a classic, and that right there is a classic kind of scene that's basically a classic moment that is seen in various movies and shows. Like I said before, this is a classic moment that has been used many times in movies and shows when someone is confessing their love for another, depending on whatever means it could be. The point I'm getting at, folks, is this. Folks. Like I said in one video, you may not agree with the whole Spike Rarity deal, and that's your choice, that's your right. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and if season 9 is the last season, or if they decide to go a decade's worth of seasons and end it after 10, you're just going to have to accept, even if you don't agree with it, that if they decide to fully embrace Spike and Rarity, Sparity if you will, in the series, and this moment here in Best Gift Ever being like sort of a nod or an acknowledgement that, hey, we're going to make it semi-canon and official, because this is a moment that basically you have Spike, he's in, and I've mentioned this before, in front of Twilight and the rest of the main 6, in front of Twilight and the rest of the main 6, in front of Discord, and in front of Shining Armor and Cadence, he's confessing his love for Rarity. And then you take a look at the ending of the second verse that Twilight sings of the song, and how the winter chiller gathers them up in a warm hug or embrace. You see how Rarity is right next to Spike and how she's looking at him. So you can't tell me that Hasbro doesn't know what they're doing, because they do. The creative staff doesn't know what they're doing, because they do. And in my opinion, they kind of acknowledge that maybe this is going to be, if not is going to be, semi-canon and official. So, again, whether you like it or you don't, that's fine. You're just probably going to have to accept that depending on how much longer the series is on for, whether it's for one more season or 2 more seasons, that if they decide to end the series, that when the series is over and this is basically acknowledged as being canon or semi-canon, you just got to deal with it. You just got to accept it. Because again, as I just mentioned, there are plenty of examples out there of this happening. And those that I list are just a few of many. So that's all really I'm going to say, guys. I got to get into work. So let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like, and I'll talk to y'all later.